Welcome back to my channel, where we uncover the truth behind the fall of the Brown family empire, and tonight's story begins after the gavel dropped. The crowd erupted. Cameras flashed like lightning. Robyn Brown broke down in uncontrollable sobs while Kody sat frozen, his eyes vacant, his world collapsing around him. When the judge's voice echoed through that courtroom, Kody and Robyn Brown are hereby ordered to pay $3 million in restitution to the Brown family estate. It wasn't just a verdict. It was an execution of the illusion they had built for over a decade. The so-called family of faith and forever had finally been stripped bare under the cold light of justice. Across the courtroom, Meri Brown sat silent, still, and impossibly composed. The woman Kody once called irrelevant, discarded, and forgotten was now watching his empire crumble, brick by deceitful brick. Cameras swarmed, reporters shouted questions. "Mrs. Brown, did you know about the secret mansion?" Meri didn't answer. She simply smoothed her jacket and whispered, "Truth has a way of finding its voice." That one line sent shockwaves through the entire courthouse. Outside, rain poured as Robyn's mascara streaked down her face, her tears blending with the storm. Kody stormed down the marble hallway, fists clenched, veins pulsing. "They think they can kill me with lies," he growled. Robyn's trembling voice followed him. "Kody, please, let's just go." But he yanked his arm away. "No, Robyn, she did this. Meri did this." His words echoed like thunder through the courthouse as Meri paused by the door. For a single moment, her mask slipped, revealing years of loneliness, betrayal, and silence. But she didn't turn around. She just walked out into the rain, leaving behind the ruins of a family that once preached eternity. That night, the courthouse was empty, but Meri stayed behind. Her heels clicked softly against the floor as she returned to the same seat where Kody had sat hours earlier. From her coat, she pulled out a weathered paper, an old property deed. The name printed on it made her jaw tighten, Robyn Sullivan. Her lips curled slightly. "You thought you could keep it hidden forever, Kody." Thunder rolled outside as she slipped the deed back into her pocket. Because the storm that erupted in that courtroom didn't start with the verdict. It started years ago, with one secret buried deep in the snow. 3 years earlier, Flagstaff, Arizona snow blanketed the streets. Inside the Brown household, silence had replaced laughter. Kody sat at the kitchen island, scrolling through his phone, frowning at dwindling investments. "It's just temporary," he muttered. "These things bounce back." Robyn, washing dishes, replied cautiously, "Maybe we should hold back on the remodel, Kody." But he snapped, "No, this family deserves something permanent." At that moment, Meri entered the room, mail in her hands. "Permanent?" she repeated, her voice calm but sharp. "You mean another house?" Kody hesitated. "It's not another house. It's an investment property, something Robyn and I are doing for the family's future." The word family hung in the air, and empty, meaningless. Because that day, Meri finally understood. Family no longer meant all of them. It meant Kody and Robyn. Later that night, in her small rental home, the one Kody dismissed as temporary, Meri sat by the window, staring at a pile of unopened mail. Among the envelopes was one marked Brown Estate Holdings, LLC. She opened it and froze. Inside were property deeds and signatures. Robyn Sullivan, Kody W. Brown, a $1.9 million purchase for something called Lot 24, Red Pine Hills. Her pulse quickened. "What is this?" she whispered. The paper showed a secret mansion, bought while Kody told everyone the family was broke. No money for the kids, no funds for Christine's bills, yet plenty to hide a mansion under Robyn's maiden name. Meri photographed every page, heart pounding, then slipped the documents back onto Kody's desk. No confrontation, no warning, just silence. Because sometimes, the loudest revenge is quiet truth. And 3 years later, when that gavel fell and Kody and Robyn's empire shattered, it wasn't coincidence. It was Meri's silent evidence finally speaking for itself. The camera fades to black, leaving only the echo of her words. "You wanted forever, Kody. I gave you the truth instead." Truth instead. Tonight's story picks up in the quiet aftermath of loyalty's final fracture, when Janelle Brown began to step away, quietly but decisively. She spent her days with her adult children, finding peace in their laughter and independence. And as her connection to Kody faded, one woman's grip only tightened: Robyn. Robyn and Kody were suddenly inseparable, seen together at banks, Business meetings and private dinners that no one else was invited to. It was a new kind of partnership, strategic, secretive, and dripping with money and control. Then came the dinner that changed everything. It was an ordinary evening. The family gathered around a long table, the clinking of silverware breaking the stillness. Meri sat quietly, studying Kody with that piercing calm she had mastered over the years. Then, with the gentlest edge in her voice, she asked, "So, Kody, how's the property deal coming along?" Kody froze mid-bite, eyes flicking up from his plate. "What property deal?" he asked, feigning ignorance. Meri's tone was steady, measured. "The one under the LLC, the one you signed with Robyn." The entire room went silent. Even the children stopped eating. You could feel the tension, like static in the air before a lightning strike. Robyn's lips curled into a nervous smile. "Meri, I think you're confused," she said sweetly, her voice trembling just enough to betray her fear. "We've been upfront about everything." Meri tilted her head slightly. "Affront? Then why is the deed in your maiden name?" A sharp clang echoed as Kody's fork scraped across his plate. His face darkened. "Enough," he snapped. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I think I do," Meri replied, her voice quiet but firm. And in that moment, everyone saw it. The one thing Kody Brown had always hidden behind his bluster and charm: fear. For the first time, the self-proclaimed family leader looked cornered. After that night, the illusion shattered. Kody cut Meri off completely, cold, distant, refusing to take her calls. Robyn tried to mediate, sending texts, showing up uninvited, pretending to fix things. But Meri wasn't fooled. She had already begun digging. At the Flagstaff County Records Department, Meri spent hours combing through property files linked to Brown Estate Holdings, LLC. Most were routine, family homes, small businesses. But then she found it. Lot 24, Red Pine Hills. The name hit her like a punch. The payment trail led to a joint account under Kody and Robyn's names, but the mailing address wasn't theirs. It belonged to a high-profile law firm in Phoenix, one specializing in asset protection. The clerk raised an eyebrow. "You looking to buy that lot?" Meri smiled faintly. "No," she said. "I think I already did." That's when it clicked. This wasn't a mistake or an oversight. It was a plan, a calculated betrayal disguised as family business. That night, Meri sat in her car outside the Phoenix law office, rain streaking down her windshield. She didn't know exactly what she'd find next, but she knew one thing for sure. Kody had underestimated her for the last time. Her phone buzzed, a text from Christine. "He's losing control, Meri. Watch yourself." Robyn's covering for him again. Meri stared at the message for a long moment as thunder rolled in the distance. "He built everything on secrets," she whispered. But secrets don't last forever. She started her engine and drove off into the storm, headlights slicing through the rain, never noticing the dark SUV parked a few spaces behind her. Inside sat Robyn, hands trembling on the wheel, eyes filled with guilt and terror. Because she knew, if Meri kept digging, she'd uncover the one secret Kody swore her to protect, the secret that could burn their entire empire to the ground. The next morning, Meri woke before dawn. The desert sky was still ink black, pricked with stars. Her heart pounded with a strange clarity, the kind that comes right before everything changes. She made coffee, black, bitter, the way she drank it after nights filled with tears and sleepless anger. On her kitchen table lay a spread of documents from the county office, maps, property records, signatures, and right in the center, a deed labeled Red Pine Hills Residence. A name she hadn't seen in years stared back at her. Sullivan, Robyn's maiden name. And beneath it, Kody W. Brown. Meri traced her finger over the signature, her voice barely a whisper. "You really thought I wouldn't find this, Kody?" She packed the documents into a folder, grabbed her keys, and drove into the pale dawn. The desert slowly shifted from darkness to gold as the sun rose behind her. She thought of old road trips, laughter, the kids asleep in the back seat, memories that once meant home. Now they just haunted her. By the time she reached Red Pine Hills, the sky had turned a fierce amber. The gated community stood silent and perfect, wealth wrapped in walls. She parked a few doors down and stepped out, the gravel crunching beneath her boots. Then she saw it, Lot 24. A massive stone-fronted mansion loomed behind black iron gates. Walls of glass gleamed in the morning light. A fountain whispered in the driveway, and fresh tire tracks coiled toward the garage. Someone had been there recently. Meri walked closer, heart racing. Then through the gate, she froze. There was Robyn, dressed in a long black coat, hair tied back, talking on her phone while a delivery van idled nearby. Men unloaded boxes labeled antique decor. Meri's breath caught. That familiar laugh, once a sound of friendship, now felt like betrayal in human form. She raised her phone and took a photo, zooming in on the plaque beside the gate. 24 Red Pine Hills Drive. Proof. The final piece of a puzzle that would soon unravel the Brown legacy once and for all. Brown legacy once and for all. The wind carried a hush that night, the kind that makes you feel like the world itself is holding its breath. Meri's fingers gripped the steering wheel as she watched from across the quiet cul-de-sac. Through her windshield, she saw it, the towering iron gates of Robyn Brown's new home, glistening beneath the soft glow of a porch light. Then the sound, click. Robyn stepped out of her SUV, clipboard in hand, signature neat and deliberate. A flash, a smirk. A door closing behind her. Meri whispered to herself, almost involuntarily, "Got you." She turned to leave, but a voice, deep and commanding, sliced through the air. "Can I assist you, ma'am?" Her heart skipped. She spun around, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. A security guard stood near his patrol car, hand resting on his holster, suspicion heavy in his gaze. "Oh, sorry," she stammered, keeping her tone light. "Wrong address. I was just looking for a friend." The guard didn't move, didn't blink. He simply nodded, slow and skeptical, as she retreated to her car. Inside, her breath came ragged. Her hands trembled on the key. But there it was, the truth she had dreaded and somehow already known. The mansion was real. Robyn was real, and Kody had hidden it all from her. As she drove away, tears blurred the headlights ahead. "All those years," she whispered through clenched teeth. "All those lies." It was never about the money. It was about the trust, the one thing Kody swore would never shatter. That night, the papers lay sprawled before her on the living room table. Receipts, records, land deeds. The purchase had been made a year after Christine's departure, right when Kody claimed the family was downsizing. Downsizing? No, this wasn't downsizing. This was ascension, their ascension. A secret mansion. A secret life. A betrayal built brick by brick. Meri's fingers hovered over her phone before dialing. "Janelle." It rang twice. A tired voice finally answered. "Hey, Mer, what's up?" "You sound off." Meri inhaled. "You remember when Kody said he was investing in family housing?" "Yeah. I think I figured out what that actually means." A pause. Then Janelle's voice, weary but sharp. "Oh no, what did he do now?" Meri's voice dropped, steady and cold. "He bought a mansion, Janelle. In Robyn's maiden name." Silence. Then, "You're serious?" "Dead serious. I saw her today." Another long pause. Only the static of the line between them. Janelle finally exhaled. "Meri, if you've got proof, that's dangerous. You need to be careful." Meri's voice hardened. "It's not dangerous for me anymore, Janelle. It's dangerous for them. Because when a woman who's been silent for decades finally speaks, her voice can move mountains." A week later, she returned, this time under the cover of night. The mansion rose like a ghost among the trees, its windows glowing like watchful eyes. She parked deep off the road, pulled her scarf tighter, and crept through the forest's shadow. From the hill, she could see everything. Inside, Robyn sat at the dining table, scrolling through her phone. Then, a tall figure walked behind her. Broad shoulders. Familiar stance. Meri's breath caught. Kody. He wasn't away on business. He wasn't visiting the kids. He was home. Anger surged in her chest. Not just betrayal, but humiliation. Years of loyalty twisted into deceit. Her hand shook as she raised her phone. The red recording light blinked. She zoomed in, capturing the house, the chandelier, Robyn's silhouette, and the man behind her. "You wanted forever with her," she whispered. "Now forever is going to cost you." And for the first time in years, Meri smiled. Not out of joy, but justice. By morning, she had uploaded the footage to a private drive, printed every document, every timestamp. She sealed them inside a manila envelope labeled simply, "Insurance." She didn't know when she would use it, only that she would. Because one day, the truth would need a voice. Rain battered the windows of Kody's Flagstaff home like fists demanding entry. The fire crackled behind him, the same fireplace where he had once promised Meri eternal trust. Now she stood before it, folder clutched to her chest. Kody's face was crimson, fury twisting every line. "You think spying on your own family makes you righteous?" Spying? Her tone was cool. I call it finding the truth. Robyn sobbed quietly on the couch, tissue shredded between trembling hands. Meri, please. You don't understand what you're doing. Meri turned, gaze sharp as glass. I understand perfectly. She placed the folder on the coffee table. Thud. The sound cracked the air like a gunshot. What's that? Kody demanded. Proof, she said simply. Every lie you've told for the last 3 years. For once, he said nothing. The king of control stood frozen before the woman he'd tried to break. When he finally opened the folder, his hands trembled. Photographs spilled out. The mansion, the bills, Robyn's signature, the footage. His face paled. You were tailing us? He growled. No, Meri said, voice steady. I was observing you. There's a difference. Robyn sobbed harder. The house was for the family. Meri cut her off. Then whose name is on the deed, Robyn? Yours. Her voice cracked, emotion bleeding through composure. You told us there wasn't enough for Christmas. You told Janelle to tighten her budget. You told Christine her daughter's surgery had to wait. And all that time you were signing checks for this? Kody slammed his hand on the table. You don't know what it takes to build something that lasts. Meri stared at him, tears gathering but voice unwavering. No, Kody, you don't know what it takes to make it honest. Silence. Just the rain and Robyn's muffled sobbing. That's how the family truly ended. Not through whispers in the dark, but through the truth shouted in daylight. Later that night, Meri sat in her car, the argument replaying in her head like static. Her phone buzzed, a message from Kody. You'll regret this. She stared at the screen, then whispered through tears. I already did. For 4 years. Delete, weeks passed. The family chat went silent. Christine sent a heart emoji. Janelle texted, you okay? Even those small gestures felt like anchors in a storm. But the storm had spread. Local reporters started sniffing around. Rumors of Brown holdings and a secret Flagstaff estate. No one knew who leaked the proof. Kody blamed Meri. Robyn begged him to calm down, but his fury only deepened. One night, his truck tires crunched over gravel outside Meri's cabin. He pounded on the door. You think this ends here? You think a few papers can destroy me? Meri opened the door halfway, chain still locked. Her voice calm. It's not about destroying you, Kody. It's about ending the deception. You're ruining our reputation. He spat. No, she said softly. You did that when you chose her over all of us. For a heartbeat, his rage faltered. Then it returned. He stormed off into the night, leaving only tire tracks and silence behind. Days later, Meri sat across from a lawyer in a dimly lit office. He flipped through the documents slowly, his face hardening. Mrs. Brown, he said gravely, this isn't just family drama. This is fraud. Forged signatures, misused funds. If this goes to court, it's criminal. Meri nodded. I know. And if you testify, it'll ruin them. Her voice was steady. Then let it. He closed the folder. All right. We'll begin the filing. Meri rose. I'll do what I should have done years ago. Outside, snow began to fall, soft flakes dissolving on her coat. For the first time in years, she didn't feel cold. Because there is a strange warmth in truth, even as it burns everything else to ashes. Meanwhile, in the Red Pine Hills mansion, Robyn sat before the fireplace, scrolling headlines. Brown holdings under legal scrutiny. Anonymous source provides evidence of fraud. Kody paced behind her, rage echoing in every step. She's doing this to hurt me. Robyn's voice broke. No, Kody, she's doing this because you hurt her. He turned, chest heaving. Don't defend her. After all we gave her, Robyn finally shouted back through tears. We didn't give, Kody, we took! He froze, no words. Just the weight of a truth too late to fix. And as the snow settled over the mansion gates, the Brown family's empire, once built on unity and faith, began to crumble under the weight of its own deceit. In her cabin, Meri wrote the first line of her court statement, her voice steady, almost peaceful. I once believed loyalty meant silence. I was wrong. Loyalty isn't defending lies, it's standing for truth. The courtroom smelled of damp paper, old wood, and something heavier, the weight of consequence. Outside, flashes from cameras cracked like lightning against the rain. Reporters swarmed the steps, their microphones trembling with anticipation. Inside, every seat was filled, neighbors, former church members, ex-fans, all there to witness the unthinkable, the final trial of Kody and Robyn Brown. Kody entered first, chin high but eyes hollow, the face of a man who once commanded devotion, now drowning in disgrace. Robyn followed, clutching a Bible to her chest like a shield. Meri entered last, calm, centered, her heels clicking across marble floors like a metronome counting down the Empire's last seconds. The judge cleared his throat. Case number 4527. Brown Estate Holdings versus Kody Brown and Robyn Sullivan Brown. Charges include fraudulent transfers, concealment of marital assets, and breach of fiduciary duty. Gasps rippled through the gallery. The same man who once preached unity and faith now stood accused of betrayal and deceit. Kody's lawyer, slick, rehearsed, his suit worth more than most people's cars, stood with feigned confidence. Your Honor, my clients are victims of miscommunication, not malice. These are family matters twisted into accusations. But across the room, Meri's attorney opened a thick binder and spoke softly. Then let the evidence speak for itself. And in that moment, the courtroom changed. It was no longer about the law, it was about confession. Janelle took the stand first. Her voice trembled as she recounted unpaid taxes, lost savings, and years of deception. Then Christine, her eyes wet with betrayal. He told us we couldn't afford my daughter's surgery, she said quietly. But now we know where the money went. The gallery fell silent. Every word was a blade. Then came the accountant, a mild, nervous man with round glasses who clicked a file onto the court screen. Wire transfers, timestamps, and a signature that made the room gasp, Robyn's maiden name next to Kody's. The amount? $3 million. Robyn's trembling hand covered her mouth. Kody whispered violently to his lawyer, his composure cracking. The judge slammed his gavel once. Order! But there was no order anymore. Not in this family, not in this empire. Outside during recess, the media frenzy was electric. Cameras followed Meri like hounds. Meri, is this revenge? A reporter shouted. She paused, met his gaze, and said softly, No, it's the truth. In the courthouse bathroom, Meri stared at her reflection. Older, stronger, unbreakable. She whispered a prayer, wiped her tears, and walked back out to face the next storm. When Robyn took the stand, her voice was fractured. We never meant to hide anything. Kody said it was temporary, to protect the family. But the prosecutor stepped forward. Mrs. Brown, is this your signature on the property delivery forms? Yes. And did you testify that the house was unoccupied? That's what Kody told me to say. The courtroom gasped. Robyn's eyes widened, not just with guilt, but realization. The man she protected was now letting her fall. Then it was Kody's turn. He spoke with the rehearsed charisma of a fallen preacher. I led this family with faith. I sacrificed for them. I misunderstood. But cross-examination cut through the illusion like a blade. Mr. Brown, did you sign these deeds in your legal name? Yes. Did you inform your wives? No, but they knew our structure. Then why use a false address under your wife's maiden name? Kody's voice faltered. It was strategic. The lawyer smirked. Strategic dishonesty or strategic fraud. The room gasped again. Even the bailiff's eyes flicked up. Kody turned toward Meri, venom in his gaze. You're enjoying this, aren't you? But she didn't answer. Her silence was its own verdict. Finally, Meri took the stand. The room held its breath. Her voice was steady, quiet, powerful. 3 years ago, I found a deed in Robyn's maiden name, signed by Kody. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to think the man I married was still honest. Every word carried years of heartbreak, every sentence a decade of denial. Why now? The attorney asked. Because truth needs light, she whispered. And silence makes you complicit. The judge's pen froze mid-note. Even Kody lowered his eyes. The courtroom wasn't breathing anymore. It was listening. When court recessed, the sun was setting, gold spilling through the courthouse windows like divine judgment. Robyn left in tears. Kody refused to comment. Meri walked out quietly, her attorney whispering, You did incredible. She smiled faintly. It wasn't incredible. It was necessary. And as the door closed behind her, she whispered, Tomorrow everything changes. The next morning, the courthouse was electric. Reporters pressed against the glass. Inside, the air felt heavy, sacred, final. The judge cleared his throat. After reviewing all evidence, including the testimony of Meri Brown and the defendants Kody and Robyn Brown, the court finds that the defendants intentionally concealed assets totaling $3 million through fraudulent transfers and misrepresentation. A collective gasp erupted. Robyn covered her mouth. Kody's head fell into his hands. Restitution is hereby ordered in the amount of $3 million to the Brown family estate. Additional penalties to follow. The gavel fell once, final, irreversible. Meri closed her eyes. The sound echoed through her chest like freedom. For the first time in years, she felt the weight lift. Because in the end, as she would later write in her journal, loyalty isn't silence. It's fighting for the truth, even if you fight alone. And as snow began to fall outside the courthouse, the empire of the Browns, once built on faith, fame, and deception, finally began to crumble under the only thing strong enough to destroy it: the truth. Destroy it. The truth. And with that single note, a 2-decade dynasty of faith and family collapsed into silence. Reporters rushed forward, shouting questions, cameras flashing like lightning, but the judge's gavel struck once, silencing them all. Kody sat frozen, as if glued to his chair. Robyn wept quietly, her fingers clutching his arm. And Meri rose. She did not smile. She did not cry. She simply nodded, not to the judge, not to the cameras, but to herself. Promise fulfilled. As she turned to leave, Kody's voice ripped through the courtroom air. You think you've won, Meri? You've destroyed everything. She froze, her back to him. No, Kody, she whispered. You destroyed it the moment you forgot what family was. And with that, she walked away before he could speak again. Outside, chaos exploded. Flashes, microphones, a storm of questions. Meri, why did you speak out? Was it revenge? Closure? Confession? At the top of the courthouse steps, the wind pulling at her coat, she turned and said clearly, it was truth. And truth doesn't care who it embarrasses. With those words, Meri transformed, and from victim to symbol. Not of scandal, but of survival. That evening, headlines screamed across every screen, Brown family fraud exposed. Talk shows speculated. Podcasts dissected. The internet devoured every clip, every leaked document. But while the world buzzed, Meri sat alone in her quiet cabin, firelight dancing across her face. Verdict papers spread before her. The phone rang endlessly. Reporters, friends, even old church acquaintances. She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes fell upon a weathered property document she'd discovered 3 years ago. Her fingers brushed the faded name, Robyn Sullivan. But this time, she noticed something new. In the bottom corner, almost invisible, another signature, smaller, familiar. Meri L. Brown. Her heart stopped. She dialed her attorney. There's something you didn't see, she said breathlessly. The original deed, it has my name on it too. That's impossible, the lawyer replied. You said, I know what I said, she cut in. But maybe I signed, years ago, as a witness. And then it hit her. Kody hadn't just lied. He had used her. Sometimes betrayal isn't about lies. It's about signatures you didn't even know you were giving. Kody had forged her trust long before he ever forged the money. The next morning, Meri stood before her attorney again, the document trembling in her hand. He studied it, face grave. Meri, this could have incriminated you. She nodded. Could have. But it didn't. He hesitated. You exposed evidence that could implicate yourself? Yes, she whispered, because silence would have killed someone else. The lawyer nodded softly. That took courage. Meri's eyes lifted. For once, I didn't want to stay quiet to protect someone else's image. He smiled faintly. Then you've already won more than any verdict could give. That night, Kody appeared on live TV, red-eyed, defensive. They're twisting everything, he insisted. Meri was part of it. She's turning on us because she's bitter. When asked if he was accusing her of fraud, he snapped, she doesn't get to play dumb. Meri watched from her cabin. For the first time, she didn't cry. She simply turned off the television. Because truth's power doesn't lie in convincing others. It lies in knowing you don't have to anymore. Days passed. The public's attention drifted. Robyn filed for legal separation. Kody's name was stripped from the family business. The Red Pine Hills mansion went dark. Meri visited one last time. Snow muffled her footsteps. She placed a small silver key, Robyn's old spare, on the gatepost. You built this to keep us out, she whispered. Now no one belongs in it. She turned away, the wind brushing her tears into snowflakes. It's over, she breathed. But endings are never truly endings. They're beginnings in disguise. That evening, she began to write her memoir. The opening line. I was never the last wife standing. I was just the first who stopped kneeling. The next morning, headlines erupted again. SisterWives scandal deepens. Assets seized. Mansions sold. Kody was seen leaving the courthouse, hollow, gray, diminished. Robyn trailed behind, weeping into her sleeve. The dynasty was done. Meri stayed home, her name now trending worldwide. Talk shows called her brave. The internet called her the last wife standing. But she didn't crave fame. She whispered to herself, "All I wanted was peace." Because sometimes winning doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival. A week later, Kody held a press conference, trembling, exhausted. "I never meant to hurt anyone," he said. Meri's exaggerating. She's always wanted control. When asked about Robyn's secret accounts, his calm cracked. "You people don't get it. I built this family. He cut himself off, face twisting with anger. By morning, every headline read, "Kody Brown melts down on live TV." Meanwhile, Christine, Janelle, and Meri met at a quiet cafe, their first true reunion in years. Janelle whispered, "You did it, Meri. You ended it." "Ended what?" Meri asked softly. "The lies or the family?" Christine squeezed her hand. Both had to die for something new to begin. They sat for hours, laughing, remembering, healing. For the first time, freedom didn't sound frightening. It sounded earned. While Meri rebuilt her peace, Kody unraveled. Alone in a dark apartment, blinds drawn, faith shaken, he watched the empire he built crumble one brick at a time. Robyn, desperate, sent Meri a single message. "You got what you wanted. Please stop." Meri replied only once. "What I wanted was truth. You helped him hide it." Robyn never answered again. The Red Pine Hills mansion emptied out, frozen fountain glistening under gray skies. Kody stood alone, watching movers haul away the last of his legacy. He whispered, "I thought this house would save us." But it hadn't saved anyone. It had buried them all. A month later, Meri sat across from a documentary producer, hesitant. "Do I really want to relive it all?" The producer smiled gently. "You've already lived it. Now you claim it." The cameras rolled. Meri spoke softly, but every word struck like lightning. "I stayed silent because I thought love meant endurance. But love without integrity isn't love. It's loyalty to suffering." The room fell silent. Crew members wiped their eyes. It wasn't performance. It was truth. After filming, Meri stepped outside, air sharp and clean. Because closure isn't a door that slams behind you. It's a window opening to light you never thought you'd see again. Across town, Kody sat in a cheap motel, watching that same interview. When she said, "I was the first one who stopped kneeling," he flinched. "You were supposed to be my forever," he whispered. But forever had left him behind. The screen faded black. Meri's voice echoed faintly, "Truth costs less than lies." Snow fell gently over the empty mansion. And somewhere, Meri drove away into the mountains, no longer the first wife, but the last one standing. At the lake's edge, she stood watching her reflection shimmer beneath a pale sky. Her phone buzzed. The last wife standing, trending #1 worldwide. She smiled. Even peace has a headline now. But this wasn't fame. This was freedom, finally dressed as itself. Later that night, a young producer asked her gently, "If you could turn back time, before Kody, before the show, would you do it all again?" Meri thought long and hard, then nodded. "Yes, because pain teaches what comfort never will. I lost everything, but I found myself." She lifted her mug, toasting softly. To survival. Because sometimes strength isn't what you hold on to. It's what you finally let go of. Weeks later, her memoir hit shelves. The Last Wife Standing, a true story. She signed each copy. "To anyone who's ever been silenced, speak anyway." Meri L. Brown. Because some signatures destroy you. And others set you free. As night fell over her cabin, she opened one last letter. It was from Kody. It read, "Meri, I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know you were never the enemy. You were the warning I wouldn't listen to." Meri smiled softly. That's the closest he'll ever get to sorry. And somehow, that's enough. Her final words that night were written in her journal. "They thought I was the wife left behind. But I was the one who finally stood up." The flames dimmed. The snow shimmered. And for the first time in decades, Meri Brown was free.